The American writer Norman Mailer was said to be passionate about, of all things, thumb wrestling. In fact, it was his favourite sport. Who invented it?
Who was Nosey Bob, and what was his very unpopular job?
What's so unusual about the men's room urinals at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam?
And finally, in this episode, what amusement park attraction designed in 1948 by German engineer Ernst Walter Hofmeister featured in the Australian film Candy?
Hello and welcome to REMORANDOM, a celebration of everything interesting. I'm Remo Giuffre.
And I'm Claudia Chanshaw.
Bit rushed this morning, Claudia. Didn't get a chance to shave, so that's not going to affect you listeners, but you viewers, please forgive me for the 3-day growth. You know,
you could have brushed your hair too, Remo.
It's me, warts and all. It's me, warts and all. It's been a Remo random busy time. I got the fourth book artwork off to the printer on Sunday night. Yes.
Exciting.
Very exciting. God, you just, read things many, many times and go cross-eyed with panic, trying to make sure that you don't miss a stray extra word or a missing space or what have you, and bend a lot of arms and do a lot of bribing to get as many people as possible to proofread for you, which is what I did. And then submitted it to the printer. And of course, half an hour later, I get an email from the guy who suggested one of the topics, the topic being the Dunning-Kruger effect, this cognitive phenomenon where people who aren't that competent aren't aware that they're not competent. And it was a meme. It was a picture of Brad Pitt with his shirt off from the movie Fight Club, and the headline of the meme said, "First rule of Dunning-Kruger Club: you don't know that you're in Dunning-Kruger Club." So it was too good, and so I said to my designer, "Well, that's one of the pages we're going to edit next week to just squeeze that in, make sure it makes the print." It's those little bits that make all the difference.
Dunning-Kruger Club. Oh, how many people do you know who belong to that club?
It's not a club you really want to belong to if you can help it.
No.
We're getting into the swing on our new podcast. Now we are broadcasting on the radio with our episodes, and on Saturday nights at 6:30 p.m. Sydney time, radio 2RPH. I think it's 105 on the FM dial. Anyway, I missed us the week before last, but I did catch a bit of us on Saturday, and I was actually quite interested. We're not bad.
Well,
we could be worse.
That's encouraging. I'm glad you were interested, because you could be a bit of test audience. Oh, that's right. Maybe you've heard it all before.
Yeah, it's funny. I took a little bit of a video of my wife Melanie and I listening to it in the car, just a sort of one of those sort of stupid videos that point at the radio dial, when you're kind of watching the airwaves.
On the air. We are on the air.
If my mother was alive, I'd be sending it to her, but she's not.
Oh, bless.
So, 2 words, Claudia: thumb wrestling. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's start a thumb war. So for you people who don't have the video on at the moment, aren't watching this on YouTube or Spotify, Claudia's doing the thumb action.
Not very well, mind you.
Not very well. So
I need an opponent.
The American writer Norman Mailer was said to be very passionate about thumb wrestling, and in fact it was reportedly his favourite sport. So, the thumb war goal is to pin the opponent's thumb on a count of, 3. And the San Francisco Chronicle writer Oscar Villalon, himself something of a thumb wrestling champion, in his 2003 article, 1, 2, 3, 4, I Declare a Thumb War, referred to the game as the miniature golf of martial sports. So there you go. No one's exactly know who invented thumb wrestling. So it was either Julian Koenig, the advertising copywriter who came up with the slogan for Timex, "It takes a lickin' and keeps on tickin'." Or in 1936, it was a humorist, Paul Davidson, who claimed that his grandfather, Bernard Davidson, invented the thumb war in the 1940s. Maybe it doesn't matter who invented it, but the way you start the thumb war is you lock hands and you do the thumbs back and forth. And in English, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war. But in France, it's 1, 2, 3, bras de feu chinois. This is the Chinese arm wrestling.
Oh.
Chinese arm wrestling.
Okay.
Same thumb dance. And New Zealand, even though it's English speaking, they completely off the page somewhere else. Their rhyme goes, pinochle, 1, 2, 3. I declare a war on thee. How did that happen? The Kiwis have to be different, I guess.
Well, they've got a different name for the thongs too.
Flip-flops? What's their name?
Yeah.
So there's a World Thumb Wrestling Championship that takes place in Norwich, England, and done so since 2016. What else did I find? Oh yeah, if you want your thumb wrestling game to feel a bit more official, you can buy these professional thumb wrestling rings, which are basically a platform with holes and ropes around it like a boxing ring, and you stick your thumb up through the hole in the bottom of it. That just makes it look a little bit more official. And there's an Austrian artist collective called Monochrome who pioneered what they call massively multiplayer thumb wrestling. So on their website, they've designed all of these configurations of 3, 4, 5, 12 players who can all get in a circle, grab each other's thumbs and play it at the same time as a sort of a community thing. And in 2013, inspired by this work, the game designer and TED speaker Jane McGonigal managed to get an entire room of attendees at that TED conference in 2013 to connect with one another for one big thumb wrestle. And I was one of those thumbs, Claudia. I was one of those thumbs. I was there. So I can verify that happened. And it was, not too embarrassing and quite a lot of fun.
I reckon it should be an Olympic sport. Greco-Roman thumb wrestling. I think that would be really good. And I do like the idea of the little ring where you put your thumbs up in the hole, so it's anonymous.
Yeah, well,
like
there's
that.
a picture in the chapter. I'll throw it up in the edit of this podcast so people can see how stupid they actually look.
Now did you say that the World Championships were in Norwich?
Yes, Norwich, England.
Norwich, because that's where Nosey Bob comes from.
Who's Nosey Bob?
Nosey Bob? Yes, I hear you ask.
When he's at home. Who's Nosey Bob?
Who's Nosey Bob? Nosey Bob was born Robert Rice Howard in Norwich, England in 1832. And he migrated to Australia in 1861. And he was a cabbie in those days in Sydney, and he was very successful. He owned his own hansom cab. He had clients that were the well-heeled in Darling Point, and he was a tall, good-looking guy. He had the world at his feet. Everything was going for him. The Mudgee Guardian even described him as someone who, quote, passed for an Adonis amongst the horsey crowd. But one day, tragedy struck. At the height of his popularity, the poor man was kicked in the face by a young horse at a stable in Bligh Street in Sydney, and his nose was irreparably smashed in, creating the impression that he actually didn't have a nose at all. So what did they do? No nose. So they give him the silly, ironic nickname, Nosey Bob. Well, following the accident, his clientele began to avoid him. Business fell apart. People are so fickle, aren't they? And his career is in tatters, so he has to look for a job somewhere else. But because he's got this startling appearance and people are so cruel, it's not easy. So he's unemployed, he's shunned by society, and is out of options. So he decides to take up a role as the unpopular job, the New South Wales State Hangman. So he hangs felons across New South Wales, but most of his work is done at the Darlinghurst Jail, where he hangs some of the most famous criminals of colonial Sydney. He does 66 executions at Darlinghurst Jail. He does 7 in Old Dubbo Jail, and he's often a guest hangman, even going as far as New Zealand to be guest hangman. But despite his success, he struggles socially because he still doesn't look real good. And he faces a lot of abuse due to his disfigurement, and he's also now loathed because he's not only not good looking, but he's a hangman. So people don't like that. And he even botches...
2 strikes.
He even botches his hangings from time to time, which is not good.
Yeah, he apparently wasn't a very good hangman, which is...
No. That's so he was better as a cabbie. Anyway, he lives in a little tiny cottage located at 103 Brighton Boulevard in Bondi. And it was one of the first cottages built up there. It was on Ben Buckler Point when hardly anything was around.
Can I just interrupt? Because I know where that place is. It's next door to the cafe that we go to. I know exactly. There's a little block of flats there now. But go on.
Yeah, so that's where Nosey Bob used to live. He also had a hobby. It was shark hunting because the sharks did not judge him. And he used to set the bait, and then he'd use his horse to help him pull the shark out of the water. And he had this huge collection of shark's jaws. He also liked to drink. That was another big hobby. But due to his disfigurement,
I think he deserves a drink after all of those things. But anyway.
He does deserve a drink, Remo. So he's not real good looking, so he doesn't like to go out in public. So what's he going to do? He trains a horse to carry a billy to and from Dunlop's Cliff Hotel house on the site of the present Astra Hotel in Bondi. And the billy carries sixpence, and then it carries beer on the way back. And the larrikins used to try and pinch the money, but the horse was trained to not let them steal the money or the beer. So poor old Nosey Bob retired from his career as a hangman in 1904, and he died in 1906. And if you look for him, he's buried in Waverley Cemetery. Poor old Nosey Bob.
What a character, and incredible looking. I mean, there is a photograph of him, or an etching of him on the website, and, imagine there's just a hole where the nose would have been.
And he went from being a really good-looking guy. People are so shallow.
I know. Well, thank you for that story.
What have you got for me?
Well, a little bit of background on this one. This is from the first book, the red one, and when I was compiling the stories for that one, I happened to be visiting friends in New York, and I was just on the street, and I bumped into a designer that I knew from the early 90s. His name is Scott Stoll, and hey Scott, what are you doing? What are you up to? Blah blah blah. Hey Remo, what are you doing? Yada yada yada. There's these books, and it's about interesting stories from around the world. For example, you probably, and even before I finished the sentence, he just put his finger up and he said, "Urinal flies, urinal flies." I said, "What's urinal flies?" He says, "Urinal flies, they belong in this book." So in the early 1990s, Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam introduced little etchings of flies on its men's room urinals, like inside the actual bowl of the urinal, to reduce spillage, or the amount of urine that spills out to the floor. So all of the urinals at Schiphol have this. So the person credited with the idea is the cleaning department of that airport's manager, Jos van Bedaf. He had the idea because when he was a soldier in the 1960s, he remembers that someone had drawn a dot in the urinals, and men urinating just couldn't resist training their streams on the dot. So he thought, well, why not make it a fly? And very deliberately chose a fly because flies connote unsanitary conditions, and they're widely disliked, but without being frightening. You know, you wouldn't want to put a spider there or something like that.
No,
So,
that'd put you off, and your stream would go that way.
anyway, people just can't help aiming at the fly. So if you put the fly strategically and in just the right spot, you reduce overflow, spillage, whatever we want to call it. So they conducted trials, tests, before they implemented it urinal-wide across the airport. It reduced spillage by 80% and cut cleaning costs by about 8%. So they are baked into the porcelain, and they are targets. And there are companies around the world who make little transfers where you can make your own targets to take the place of the flies. If you're doing your own DIY urinal at home, you can put a little campfire there, or a golf flag, or a sort of a dartboard target. And for whatever reason, this website I found was also selling transfers of ex-US President Joe Biden. I don't know if I agree with that one. And there's the urinals at the University of Louisville have logos of the school's rival in their urinals. That's a good sort of, competitive thing to do. So the Nobel Prize winning behavioral economist Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein, they included urinal targets in as an example of what they refer to as nudging. So in their book, Nudge, Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth and Happiness. So according to nudge theory, positive reinforcement and indirect suggestions can influence the behavior and decision-making of groups or individuals in predictable ways without using rigid rules. So there was no big sign saying you must, aim properly.
Yeah.
But just a little visual cue which served to be a nudge in terms of the behavior, just tapping into people's natural desire to get rid of that pesky fly, I guess. That was a delightful idea, and was a worthy inclusion in Memorandum 1. Hope you enjoyed my telling of it, Claudia.
I like that. Now, not being someone who hangs around urinals, we don't have anything like that in Australia, do we?
Well,
no blowies in the toilet?
I know, well, New York's JFK Terminal 4 has them. I'm sure that they exist elsewhere. Maybe our listeners can let us know
urinal spotting
if they've come across any flies in their urinal.
Because I don't know why she swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die. She wouldn't want to use one of those. Yeah.
No.
Ew. Well, I want to tell you something now. It's interesting, and it will make your head spin, I hope, Remo. So it's about the German engineer Ernst Walter Hofmeister, who designed and patented an amusement park attraction in 1948 that would earn him fame and a little fortune. So it was called the Rotor. We might know the Rotor. You know the Rotor. So it's this large upright barrel. It rotates at 33 revolutions a minute to create an inward acting centripetal force. And so it's spinning around. And when it gets to full speed, the floor retracts. So there's no floor, leaving the riders of the ride stuck to the wall. Now, picture that. There's no floor. You're stuck to the wall while you're spinning in circles. Oh, my goodness. So this is fun, right? So it might look precarious, but you won't fall down because of the force while it's spinning. At the end of the ride, the drum slows down, gravity takes over, and you slide off the wall. And the floors come back up by then. So after its debut at the Munich Oktoberfest in 1949, the Rotor ushered in this new era of German carousel construction, and it quickly became a worldwide sensation. Now, although Hofmeister was the designer, many rotors were constructed under license. So in the United States, the two main companies responsible for the production were the Volare brothers and the Anglo-Rotor Corporation. In Australia, the rotors were built by Ted Hopkins for Luna Park in Sydney. Now, I've never been on the rotor. I remember my sister came home and told me about it, and I thought it sounded absolutely horrifying, and the idea scares me to death. If you're not familiar with it, you haven't had a go and had a look at Luna Park. If you've seen the 2006 Australian film Candy, in the opening scene, actors Heath Ledger and Abby Cornish are spinning around on the rotor while actor Jeffrey Rush looks on. So there you go. That's the spinning around.
I can't believe you haven't been on the
rotor.
rotor when you were a kid growing up. Didn't you go to Luna Park?
No. I went to Luna Park. I went to Luna Park all the time.
What about scary rides? Did you go on the
I'm a Dodgem car.
No.
Wow. I'm a Dodgem car person.
You're lamer. You're even lamer than me.
Yeah.
The one at Luna Park does actually have the words Professor E. Hofmeister's world famous scientific theatre. So if you live in Sydney, next time you're there, have a look.
Have a look.
I think as you get older, your body becomes less tolerant of those kinds of things. I do know that we, Melanie and I took the kids there. Oh God, it must have been 20 years ago. Anyway, we had some tickets, and there were tickets left over as we were leaving, and let's go on the rotor, let's go on the rotor. I begged off, but Melanie went in with one or both of our kids, and when she came out, she had this look on her face, and she literally fell to her hands and knees and had to kind of crawl. It was like it completely upset the balance of her. And then we had to drive home, and once in a while we had to pull over while she kind of, let the next wave of, and I'm not the driver, so it was actually, all in all, a very torturous afternoon for her.
No, I couldn't think of anything worse. Well, I could think of a lot of things worse, but no way. That has absolutely no interest whatsoever. So Dodgem cars at Luna Park, laughing clowns, Coney Island. Wow. That's what I like at Luna Park. Yeah. And it's not because I was old. I was a kiddie.
Maybe we belonged together in those days because I'm actually the fraidy cat in the family. So that's it for this episode of REMORANDOM, Everything Interesting. Subscribe to our show wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also watch us in the flesh on Spotify or YouTube.
And you can order copies of the book REMORANDOM at remorandom.com.
All these stories come from those books, yep.
And we would love you to contact us. Give us your comments. Maybe you've got thoughts for some great ideas, stories. You can email at hello@remorandom.com. Give us more ideas and topics. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Give us the new urinal flies idea. That would be great. Thanks, Claudia. See you next time.
Thanks, Remo.
Bye.
Oh, I've learned so much today.